Hey guys, what's going on? We had a pretty good question come up yesterday and I wanted to share it with you. And what it was the lady has St. Augustine sod, but she's got a lot of Bermuda in it, and she wants to know how she can get rid of the Bermuda. Unfortunately, there's not a chemical that you can treat and spray onto a St. Augustine yard that will just eradicate the Bermuda but not also hurt the St. Augustine. So what ends up happening, and the best way to go about this, is going to be through cultural changes. So we're in a yard here that we're actually working on, so I thought this would be a good example. You can kind of see behind me there's a lot of Bermuda mixed in the St. Augustine, but you can start seeing a lot of the St. Augustine shooters where we're starting to make some of these cultural changes. So when I say cultural changes, what I mean, Bermuda is a slower growing grass, and it needs a lot of sun. Well, one of the biggest changes you can make is you can start cutting your St. Augustine sod extremely high. In some cases, you can cut it as high as your mower might even go. You just cut the tips, and what this does is this allows the sod to grow taller, thicker, and fuller, and it ends up shading out and choking out the Bermuda. It'll also choke out a lot of the weeds as well. But the Bermuda, it grows slower, so it stays beneath the layer of St. Augustine. The St. Augustine provides a shade canopy. The Bermuda's not getting enough sun now, and it starts to have a failure to thrive, and then it'll eventually just choke out and go away. So that's going to be one good thing. Another cultural change that you can make is make sure you're fertilizing your yard efficiently and effectively. What that does is that's going to help promote more St. Augustine. It's going to make that grass grow thicker. It's going to make it grow taller, fuller, and that'll just kind of help aid in the choking out process of this Bermuda grass. So a couple other things you can stay on top of is Bermuda is more drought tolerant than St. Augustine. So as we get into the hotter months, and if you're running your irrigation or if you don't have an irrigation, make sure that you're watering the St. Augustine plenty. And this goes back to making sure you've got thick, healthy St. Augustine. So if the St. Augustine starts to stress from a lack of water, the Bermuda actually will do better and start to thrive in that those drought-like conditions. So the same thing also applies to a lot of pest problems such as chinch bugs. Chinch bugs typically don't affect Bermuda grass nearly as bad as it does St. Augustine. So make sure you're staying on top of your insecticides, because there again, chinch bugs will come in and it'll start to thin out your St. Augustine. Well, when you start to thin out the St. Augustine, it has a reverse effect of what we're trying to achieve to begin with, which is a thick layer to provide a canopy and choke it out. So anyway, I hope this helps. If you've got Bermuda grass growing in your St. Augustine, if it's thick and overrun and you don't have a very good stand of Bermuda or of St. Augustine at all, it might be that you have to go to the extreme of cutting out all of the grass, tilling the ground up really well, and then installing new sod to begin with. So that's usually a pretty extreme measure. Typically, if you've got just some Bermuda grass in your St. Augustine, you can just kind of follow these steps, follow this process. It doesn't happen overnight. It's going to take a little bit of time, but you can choke out that Bermuda. You can get rid of it. So anyway, if you got any questions, need any suggestions, please feel free to ask. We'll help in any way we can. But that's just one way to get rid of the Bermuda grass in your St. Augustine if you've got it. Remember, cut your grass high, water it effectively, make sure you're feeding it effectively, and just promote the St. Augustine. Just create a really vibrant environment for it to just thrive in. So anyway, y'all have a great day. Look forward to hearing from you.